hired a young kid who had a D because, frankly, I've had them myself.
Yeah.
You know, and I did okay. I mean, it's like, yep. You know, we rely on these things as indicators of performance, and we don't cut a lot of good people the slack and inspire them and give them what they could to have the good job.
Exactly. I mean, I've hired some, some young people and older people that I've sat and just listened to them. And I've taken away a lot, from just what they brought to the table. And I've often said, as an executive in a company, I've told people I was hiring, if you're not smarter than I am for the job I'm hiring you for, I don't need you.
All right. These universities, a lot of them, I don't know if they all are nonprofits. What is it? I mean, that means, I assume that has some advantage to them. I mean, nonprofit could just mean they don't make any money. They just keep paying everybody more, I suppose. But why are they nonprofits, and what do they get out of it?
Well, they get a lot more federal funding. For nonprofits, that's for one thing. But I think the president, has said he's going to start looking at nonprofit status for some of these universities, because he's not sure that they ought to be 501c3s when they're getting a lot of the federal money that they're getting, and they are making so much money that they can have these endowments. I mean, Harvard's like almost $53 billion with its endowments now.
Well, I think it's very important for the government to partner with universities for research, medicine, and all that. So I
do too.
I think that's extremely important that we do that. And I do think that having the arts, I mean, there's something to be said about having the arts. I don't know if we should be paying for them, though. That's a whole sort of national discussion. All right, student loans. What's going to happen with them?
Starting May 5th, you're going to have to start paying back your student loans. And
you mean people haven't been paying till now?
Since March of 2020, there has been no, we haven't gone after the money since March of 2020.
But have they been paying, or they're paying the interest on them, or what?
Well, it's mixed. Those that aren't paying any interest right now. But we have about 5 million people out of the 47, I think, million people who have student loans, but about 5 million are not paying. So the cost since March has gone up about $60 billion, and it's still going up. $60 million. It's still going up, and we've just absolutely we can't put that burden on taxpayers.
Well, I mean, if I think about it, if I get a car and I don't pay my car loan, it's going to be repossessed. It's going to be repossessed. Mm-hmm. If somebody doesn't pay student loans,
yeah, you can't take back the degree.
Well, I mean, is there any recourse to get these people, get people?
Well, what we're doing, we're giving them the opportunity to pay back, first of all. They can have programs that are tied to their income, and so we're putting up those programs so they can access. They go to studentaid.gov. They can see how they can get back into the payment program. But IRS has a pretty strong arm. Wages can be garnished, tax refunds can be garnished, and so that is one recourse.
I guess I circle back then to the universities because I don't think I think students would like to pay back their loans. I think that some of them just have such economic troubles for whatever reason. They can't get the jobs, everything. They just can't make the payments, and they're drowning in these loans because they thought they had to go to these schools. They thought they had to pay this amount of money, and their families paid a lot, and it's been a burden on the families, and it's just so out of kilter.
Well, there's some discussion as well that universities or colleges ought to co-sign maybe on some of these loans. So if students default because they've
well, that's actually an interesting idea.
Yeah. So the colleges have some skin in the game. That might bring down the cost of tuition a bit as well. So there's different ways to look at it.
And they might be inspired to help them get jobs more,
Absolutely.
too. Because they don't want students to default on them.
And I just think students need to know when they're taking out these loans, here's the kind of job you're going to have. This is the amount of money you're going to have to make to pay back this loan that you're incurring. In fact, on the FAFSA application, there's some discussion that maybe there could be a little red box that would pop up if you were signing up for this loan to say exactly that. Well, if you're going to this college and pay this much money, you're not in the profession you're entering, you're never going to be able to pay back this loan. Consider going to a different college. That's not going to cost you as much.
Well, we got to fix it because students need to learn, and education is so important. And
it truly is.
Anyway, Secretary Linda McMahon, nice to see you.
Thank you, Greta.
And today, April 23rd, Carl Higbie, our colleague's birthday. We wanted to show you a picture. People think news just happens. It doesn't. It happens because there's someone there to capture the moment, to explain it and share it. That's my job. I go where news breaks and give you the facts. Join me for The Record on Newsmax.